Welcome to the Freedom Driven Landscaper podcast brought to you by the Lucrative Landscaping book. Richard Torres, I'm really happy to be speaking with you today. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, nice.
Would you please tell me a little bit about your journey and your business thus far?
So I started back at going with my father to go work with him. He actually was a landscaper himself, my grandpa as well. Um, Started off with him just working on the weekends during my summer breaks, spring breaks. Would go with them to go to work, make some extra money. Um, Slowly, I just slowly started to love it. From there, but my father pushed me and my mom both pushed me to go into college. They don't want a student loan, so my dad encouraged me to go in and start a landscape product company, just strictly maintenance. And I paid through uh, pay my schooling, my uh, college tuition and such. Uh, Once I graduated college, I realized that I was already making. So at that time, I was married. Decided, you know what? Instead of going back to school, get my master's, I'm going to go and director's license. School did that, I went to my director's license, slowly develop a team to allow me to grow. From there, the company slowly took off, and every year since then, growing. And kind of slowed down the rate that the company has been growing. And realized, and I have a personal life and live your life. It's not all about work. So slowed it down a little bit. Now I got to the point where function by itself. So it still has this little piece here and there, but we have a uh, is able to company now by itself.
Yeah, right. Wow, nice. So, why how was it that they pushed you to the maintenance instead of the installation? They what happened there?
Um, Maintenance. I was doing maintenance. It was great. It was good money. But had a family, had a newborn, and realized, you know what, take it to the next step. Maintenance. It was not allowing us to do what we needed to do for. So at that point, I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. Do it 100%. During that time, I had doing maintenance. So they were also encouraging. They were telling me, you know what, we have it. We're going to take care of the business here. As far as this goes, you go to school, you do your thing. I did, and slowly grew. So it was just to get my family to that next level of comfort, where we have more of flexibility with our schedule. Main thing was to buy a home. We wanted to buy a home, and we needed that income to do that. So
Right. When you were first starting, as a kid before school and you were working with your family, were they doing maintenance as well, or was it landscape installation or?
So my grandfather, he was doing maintenance, and my dad was doing construction. So I worked with my grandpa every once in a while, not very often, but kind of got to hang out. And then father could do construction, so I got to work with his guys hands on. I got to go meet with customers, those vendors. He taught me a lot of things of how to interact, with people, build rapport, how to treat your guys. Very important. That's one thing. Like he was very, very good at was taking care of his crew. His crew had a lot of respect for him as a boss, friend, and almost his family. Really did take care of his guys as for his family. So I was big on that. Once he closed his doors back in 2008, like I said, it was no longer do it. He went to do something else, and a lot of his guys went to go work elsewhere. Well, when his guys now, I had opened up a landscape company right away. They wanted to come because they knew that what my dad had done, I was going to. So they jumped right on board. Some of the guys asked if they could come work for me. They just showed up and said, "Hey, I'm showing up at one. Come over. Here I come." So those
Wow.
guys, it was pretty amazing because some of those guys were guys that I actually learned from them how to do certain. So just funny how the world turned around and now here they are where and have a great relationship with those guys. To be honest, those are the only guys that actually criticize positive way, tell me, you know, if I'm doing something wrong or if I'm doing something right. I think everybody else is intimidated by those guys the different level of respect. So when they tell me something, I really take it to heart. I really listen to because I know they're telling me about my heart. And they're telling me something. I need to hear something. You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was somebody in the Lucrative Landscaping Facebook group that just asked today, something along the lines of what's the key to motivating your employees? What would you say your dad got right? Or what was the key to the admiration that you clearly have, you know? Because it's one thing to say treat your guys right. It's another thing to do it. What does that look like?
So the biggest thing is he would tell me like, put yourself in their shoes, put yourself in their shoes, and most part was respect, the level of respect. So I remember back in the day, I always heard my dad joking with the guys. He would always shake their hands in the morning. He has the day going, just quick small talk. How's the family? How's this? And that. He was always involved with their lives. They were they knew they could always count on my father. But the little respect was always there. Another thing was he paid him well. He paid him well. I remember him telling me one day, you know, you got to make sure you guys are money because the last thing you want is the guys, you know, hurrying at home to pay the bills, and then they're going to come here, bust their butt, and have that stress in the back of their mind, thinking, wait, I'm still going to bust my butt, give it all I got. It's still not going to be enough for me to pay my bills and do what I got to do with my family. So that was one thing it really instilled in me is, you know, take care of your guys, build a relationship, have the respect, and listen to them. So what we do now is there's days where permitting, we'll have the guys go back to the yard. We like to surprise them. I like to do them on Fridays. We'll surprise them, send them back to the yard early, barbecue, get them some, and then send them on their way. And what we'll do with those days is we'll actually pay them for the whole day. So even though they get to go home on a Friday, they still get paid for the whole day. Another thing is I like to show up to the yard every morning. I don't need to, but I show up every day. Hey guys, hey, what's going on? Good morning. I like to joking with them. I'm not there to guide them in the morning. They already know what they do. They have a manager and project direct them what they need to do. So I'm just kind of going around, hanging out, seeing what's up to them. And I like to bring breakfast for them. At least once a week, I bring breakfast for them, just engage with them, visit their job sites. And when I go to their job site, I don't talk about work with them because that's not my position. I have a project manager for that and people who deal with that. My position for me when I go there is check the quality of work. If I do see something wrong, I don't address them. I address the project manager. That way he can talk to them. So that way they get the feeling when I show up, they don't need to be scary. I show up and they're like, oh, hey, boss is here. Richard's here. Hey, what's going on? This and that. And sometimes I stop home from work, and I just sometimes like, hey, come sit over in the street. Hey, so what's going on? And what's this and that? And, they like to gossip, kind of just catch up, BS with them. So I'll do that for a little bit. And then I'll tell them, hey, now that you guys go, I got to run on the job site, see what those guys are doing, see how they're doing. Let me leave before you guys get yourselves in trouble for talking, or we get myself in trouble for talking too much. So
Yeah, okay, that's really nice. Yeah, I like how you expanded on the idea of respect there. I listened to a long podcast just yesterday on concepts around manners, and it really did kind of come back to respect and kind of that grease that social grease between people that keeps us all on the same page. And the way that you said it, it's it sounds a lot like the idea of building and maintaining rapport really
right.
with people, you know. So like when you know about each other on a more personal level, there's more, I don't know what the word is, but more of a connection between you two, I guess. And I think that is maybe, I'm kind of thinking out loud, but it sounds like that's sort of where the beginning of respect comes from, is I care about you enough that I know more about you than just how you're making me money.
Yeah.
You're I actually care about you as a person, right? And people pick up on that right away. It's impossible to miss. Yeah.
All my guys know to, and girls, everybody knows that we're big on family. You know, we're a small family company. If something's going on at home, you have a family emergency, doctor's appointment. Hey, you know what? The company could deal with you not being here for the day or for a couple of hours. Go take care of yourself. If you got a doctor, go take care of yourself because we need you 100%. So if your health's not 100% at home, take the time to go do that.
Yeah. So how do you feel out the flip side of that? Because I know if you're not good at it, it's easy to be taken advantage of in that same situation. I mean, I've had I've had the guys, who, oh, can I get my pay early? And you do it once, and then the next thing they need their pay early all the time because whatever you gave them early, they've spent. And so then, like, how do you how do you know where to draw the line of being the nice guy?
So that's the one problem I do have, I'll be honest with you. I'm too nice sometimes. And I will do it once or twice. I'll do it once or twice, and then I'll just so you know, this is your last time. Next time this happens, you're gonna have to go to the office, see if they're willing to grant her check early. But it's very we've got a real strict now. You have to wait till Thursday. You have to wait till Thursday when checks go through. Um, use company, so it's very difficult. It's possible. It's very difficult for us to actually create a check for that person. So it's rare when it happens, but when you do it, emergencies do come up. Uh, it's a situation where I know it's an emergency. Just give me updated in the loop to what they have going on. So that way I don't stress out my office staff. I just tell them, "You know what, I'm going to borrow some money personally. When paycheck, will they pay me? Go ahead and just pay it back."
Mm. Yeah, okay. So yeah, you sort of do it by keeping track of it. Yeah, that makes sense. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that can be tough. Do you have any particular strategy around when you're hiring somebody new and trying to see whether or not they're going to fit into the family or whether they even want to be part of the family?
So when I meet somebody, I usually go into a probably a bit longer than the interview than I need to. I've had interviews about 2 hours sometimes, 2.5 hours. And what I look for is to make sure they have the experience for the position. I do hire some people that don't have the experience, but they have that drive. And the most important for me is they have uh, they'll fit in with their culture. So we're big on the culture. So, I could have somebody who's a phenomenal employee, but if he's just, bringing more out, just causing issues, but he's a great worker, he's he or she's it. So I'm really big on being able to trust the drive of that person. Um, we're loyal to our guys. We want them to be loyal to us as well. And just to make sure we're really big on who we bring into the company. I think we've only had one instance where I was not reading the person the right way. Uh, they didn't quite work out with the company like I was saying they were going to, and they only lasted. That only happened once. And we're also pretty good at reading to people. It's very, very rare for people to actually leave our company and go elsewhere. Um, that's not a very common with us. So usually when they stay for years.
Yeah, that's really nice. And that makes your life a lot nicer too.
So,
Than
yeah.
having a crazy revolving door like some companies.
I
Wow.
know like, a lot of times because we treat our guys so well, a lot of the times we don't really have to advertise the work. A lot of the time we'll just let the guys let it be known. Hey, you know what? We're looking for this position. Does anybody know anybody? And right away the guys will start telling, "Hey, I know somebody. I know somebody." Okay, we'll go ahead and let them know. Tell them to call me. Send me a text message. I'll talk to them. And then usually, and since I'm like guys, I don't make it known. I will tell them flat out, "Hey, need someone, guys, $500." Usually, if they find somebody, I will send it to them. And then a couple of months down the road, 2, 3 months, once I know that person's solid to stay with us, I'll give the guy or the person or whoever I work, the person join a team. I'm going to give them some extra action. So
Yeah,
as I'm like,
nice.
thanks for looking out for the company. Thank you for um, ex- bringing somebody to us that you felt was going to fit the family because um, I don't want them just to send some random guy they heard he needs a job. Don't really know 'cause it makes them look bad as well. So they want to make sure that whoever they're referring to come work for us, person. So
Yeah, yeah, no, on that same podcast, the guy was talking about how, um, in some cultures, he was talking more about Asian cultures where they'll have, like, really crazy interview processes where they'll ask you a million super personal questions, and for Americans, North Americans, it can be pretty, invasive feeling, but it's pretty normal for them, and so he was saying, it's also a reason why a lot of companies will like to do a round of golf before hiring somebody because he was just listing the insights that you can see, how do they operate under pressure? How do they operate when they make a mistake? How do they approach situations? Are they risk adverse, or, how do they do that? When you're having these long conversations with people, is there anything in particular that you're looking for? Or are you using more of a gut feel, or how do you think about it?
I'd say I do a gut feeling, and then I also do some research. I research the person to find out they are legit, they are who they say they are, just call it references, do all of that. But what I like to do in my interviews is, if I, depending on the vibe, uh, I could make it more personal. What beginning, I like to do that. I like to break the ice. Just, hey, tell me about yourself. Where are you from? What do you like to do? And then I'll tell them what I like to do, what I do in my personal time, kind of break the ice. That person really, really comfortable, because I feel like once you get the person comfortable, you get understanding of who they truly are as a person. They're not putting up that front where they're nervous. They have something memorized what they're going to say, because there's a lot of generic things that a person doing an interview can say. Um, it'll sound good, but it's not quite as organically coming out of their mouth. So I like to get them more comfortable first. Once I see they're sitting back in the chair, they get more relaxed. That's when I actually start training and talk business, because at that point I'm thinking to myself, okay, now you're in a position where you're really going to open up. I could talk to you about work. So one thing I do believe is in life, you're always selling. You're always selling yourself. So you always got to think about it now. Right now, me and you are talking, we don't know each other, but I'm sitting here, I'm selling myself to you and you're selling yourself to me. So we're both doing that to each other. So I look at life the same.
Yeah, there's a book that exactly about that. It's called like "To Live Is to." Oh man, "To Live Is to Sell," or so there's a book. It's basically that. It's perfect for anybody who's. I'll have to try to find the title, but it's perfect for anybody who's uncomfortable with sales. As the
Right.
book makes the argument that life is sales. A teacher
Right.
trying to teach an idea to a class, they're trying to sell the idea to a. It's going to drive me nuts that I can't think of the name, but oh well.
So I see it as I'm sitting here, this person's interviewing out the one in the work for the team, work for us. I see it as I have to sell myself to them to let them know, like, hey, this is a good company. I'm a good owner, good boss. At the same time, they're trying to sell to me. So I think it's very important to understand the sales, what do you call it? The steps in sales. So that's one thing I think it's very important as a person who's in landscaping, is you got to really understand the sales, um, how do you say, the steps in sales. So we're building rapport, answering the question, and all that stuff. That's the same thing. Same concept that I use when I'm signing a customer, signing a job. Is I do when I'm doing every.
Yeah, I like that perspective. I found the book really quickly here. It's called "To Sell Is Human." It's
Yes.
pretty good. Yeah, you sound like you're fine, but anybody listening to this who feels like sales is a little bit icky, that book is really good for that. It really shows how important sales is and how it's important to kind of not think of it as being icky because you want to do it properly, or else it can be, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like one of the classes that I took and went to the university, went to UNLV, University of Nevada, or University of Nevada, Las Vegas, was a sales tax class that I had. And I'll be honest with you, it's probably one of the best classes I had as a student ever. Really taught me a lot of things, taught me how to get out of my shell, body language, how to compose yourself with the customer, how to, what to look for. And that, to be honest with you, really changed how I lived that life, how I was able to actually grow the company a lot faster. Once I understood those sales, different parts of sales and the steps, I was able to find my own style. That's really when I was able to grow the company. And one thing that professor always pushed on us is, the moment you wake up, the moment you go to sleep, you either actually have a day, you're always going to have, here's what I'm by, you're always going to have an interaction, and percentage of the time, great percentage of the time, you're selling yourself, selling to yourself to somebody.
Yeah.
If you're already having that relationship with them, meet somebody new, you're selling yourself. You're selling yourself
Yeah.
as a father, as a friend, um, whatever the relationship is.
Sure. I mean, even trying to pick like where to go for dinner with your wife can be
Right.
sales.
You're
Yeah.
pitching an idea. Oh, look, I looked this place up on Yelp, but you're saying, oh, it's so because this and that. You're gonna know because this and that. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So okay, there's one question that's sticking. Maybe it's just random or luck or something like that, but I'm curious. So you had experience with the landscape installation, and so why did you switch to maintenance when you first got started?
just because I didn't have my contractor's license.
Okay.
I was a full time student and I was working full time as well. So my schedule was very. It was not something I was willing to get into. I also didn't have the capital as well. So I maintenance was a little bit easier for me because I was able to go to school in the morning, go knock out a couple houses, free, go back to school, and then go home. So it was very easy to do that. In the early stage, I did find myself quite often using truck stops. I would actually go to school for a couple hours in the morning, and then I would go have my trailer hooked up to my truck already, changing the truck really quick, go knock out a couple houses, rush back to the school, which luckily there was a gas station truck stop. So I would
Yeah.
go to shower in the truck stop, dressed up, I had a presentation, get suited up real quick, drive to school, not my presentation. If I had to go back out in one or two more houses.
Right
So
on. Yeah. No, I'm no stranger to truck stops myself.
yeah,
I lived in my car, believe it or not, for about 3 months, a good while ago. And yeah, stayed at a lot of truck stops. They're a lot of them are much nicer than I think what people think. It's
oh yeah.
like a hotel room bathroom. It's like super
Uh,
nice. Yeah. Yeah, cool. So, okay, so fast forwarding to today, what's a day in your life like today, and what are you working on these days?
so my schedule just recently changed. Before I would say about 2 months ago, I was waking up every morning, at about 5:30, um, getting dressed, going to the yard, meeting with my guys there. I would go in with customers, or I would go back to the office. Spend most of the time in my office, just do my day to day activities. And what I do my day to day activities is I would go in, I would actually plan ahead. So I have people that are working in the now, and I'm always it's like for us, for example, we never have a snow season. We're fortunate that we live in Las Vegas that it doesn't get cold enough to where we have to stop. We might have like a week or two when it's just unbearable, but during it, slow it down on purpose between what's it, Christmas and New Year's, kind of slow down during the period of time. So that's kind of kind of recoup stuff like that. But I'm always working in the future, so I'm always um, looking at the market, looking at the economy here locally, and just securing jobs for the future, securing leads for the future and stuff like that. So that's what that would. Right now, I don't go to the yard as often. Probably go there around 2 to 3 times a week, and I start spending my mornings. I'm an early bird, so instead of going to the yard, staying with guys and stuff, I started taking care of myself. Start working out, riding at least 10 miles in a bike. Just kind of taking care of myself. Then from there, just go to the office. If I have like right now, I have a sales guy that I'm working with. It was somebody that actually wasn't looking. I wasn't looking for him to join. He wasn't join. It was one of us. We just started talking about life and our goals and our motives to do what we do. We realized we had very similar, what you call it, priorities. And so, as they was had room for like join the team, and I would have never asked you because you're a phenomenal salesperson, but yeah, I'd love to have you or I'm training it right now. But
Yeah, okay. So what is the key to that? It's a big question, but like a lot of guys get stuck in the field, and it can be pretty hard to get out of there. You have to make the room to get out, and
yep,
then they get stuck in the office, and then you got to make room there to get out. I talk about it a lot with a lot of people, but I'm curious, what is your perspective on how do you make that room? How do you do that?
I will say this was I'm not sure if it's the same for everybody. It was very, very difficult for me to transition from actually being out there working with my guys side by side with them to actually pulling back, wearing a collared shirt, customers, and not wearing my yellow shirt. It was very, very difficult. I think personally, it was one of those things where I was just over controlling. I knew that I had to dig down deep and understand that, hey, look, paying these guys to do a job, they're not doing it, they find somebody else to do. I was very fortunate that I've always, from the very beginning, I've always had very loyal, very honest guys, hardworking guys. So it was hard for me, but in the end, I knew they had my back. They knew I had their back, and it was fine. So it was baby steps, slowly pulling back, pulling back, pulling back. Same with the office. Once I did pull away from being out there out in the yard and working with the guys out in the jobs, I found myself being stuck in the office, doing a lot of things here and there. And I would find myself just overwhelmed. I would be overwhelmed with emails, overwhelmed with things to do. They didn't have enough time when I would sit there and think to myself, I how can I do this? How can I do this better? How can I do this better? And what I was finding myself is being like, you know what? I'm doing too much, but I don't need to. I have people that can help me, or people doing the job that I'm doing better than me. So that's why I just started saying, you know what? Start to go. For my sake, mentally, I was so overwhelmed. Slowly started letting go, letting go. I think once I started doing that and trusting that people were going to do what I was doing it better, it became a lot easier. Now it's a lot easier to just, hey, you know what? I'm good at this. You're good at this. You're better than me doing this. Why don't you go ahead and take over this? So yeah, now I find myself a little bit easier letting go. But like I said, I still find myself wanting to hang on, having that control, but I know I can't do it all.
Yeah, well, and you probably know that it's better for everybody that you're not the bottleneck, right? I
Uh,
imagine it would be impossible for you to build what you've built from the field, for example,
yeah.
and probably impossible to build what you've built being stuck in the office now without having that guy looking ahead. That's something that I deal with a lot with my clients is how can I get them into a position where they're like you in a position that they can be looking ahead further and dealing with less of the day to day. I think a lot of them, there's an emotional aspect of trust and passion of the job, of the quality of work, and these kinds of things, and customer service and all that. But there's also the financial side of it. Of how do you how do you pay for it? You know, you get used to this income that you're making. Where does the extra money come from to pay for that next step function, for that next hire? You know, the bigger the company is, I guess, the easier that becomes. You know, when you go from one truck to two trucks, that's a big change, really expensive.
Yes.
How do you think about that? Do you have a strategy for budgeting, or are you just really frugal until you build it back up again, or how do you think about that?
So what I like to do is I always like to have different accounts. So I have different banking accounts for different purposes, and I always like to have a minimum of those accounts at all times. That's my comfort zone. That's how I'm able to sleep at night. Once I have that, I will stress out us as a company. By that I mean I will run us. I will, for example, for maintenance, I will have two routes going at a time, and then I'll start getting a bunch of routes or a bunch of customers that I will sign with contracts, and I'll stress our company out. So what I'll do is work later. We work with weekends. I'll have some construction guys doing maintenance. So a lot of they're doing construction job and pull up a couple hours, but it's jobs. And then once I see having enough to start a second crew or a third crew, or fourth crew, whatever it is, then I make that transition. Once I make that transition, then I know, hey, you know what? We got to really put the pedal to the ground, hit it hard, because now we have this crew and we have to get more quotes going on too. So I'll help out those quotes. Have a manager as well. He'll go out. And so we're tagged. That's one thing that generating leads from fans. They come in just organically. We don't really have to advertise for them. In the beginning, we did not so much more for a period of time. We're about a year and a half customers just because we're overwhelmed. For us, this is for us to grow. Like literally just change a couple settings on our marketing strategy, and the phone calls will just flood it. Honestly, it's very overwhelming by the phone calls. So we try not to advertise, so just let those come. But we found ourselves too as the company was becoming more well known, have the stickers on the truck, we'll see your names out there. Um, we started realizing potential for commercial jobs. So there's some properties, whether on here in Vegas that we're doing still. It's pretty cool. It's pretty neat when some big entity reaches out to you. They're calling you like they really want to use you guys, whatever it takes, want you guys. Um, so yeah, so it's pretty cool to have like know
Yeah.
that somebody, so like a large corporation really wants to use you. So
Yeah. They know who
place
you are.
frequented by a lot of visitors.
Yeah, right. No, I really like how you worded that. I don't know if anybody's really said it quite that way before, where it's the idea of you sort of max out the crew that you have until they can't take anymore, and then add another one, and then last the marketing so that you can push, fill them up the other half of the way. That's interesting. Yeah.
So for us starting a crew, basically what I'll do is I try to fill it up for them to have at least for 1 to 4 weeks. So try to have enough to maintain them for 4 weeks, hire a crew, get the ball rolling. And once the ball rolling, stress myself out, just go out there and get as many customers you possibly can. But it's nice to get bigger contracts because those bigger contracts will like more time and it just fills up the route a lot faster. But if we really wanted to, we could probably grow the company to have probably a crew of one crew started at one, but that's not something we really want to do right now.
Yeah, well, that was my next question. What is the vision these days, and what are you working on now?
So years prior, we were started off with we started focusing on construction. Now the construction is pretty much solid, running on itself. Now we're kind of we just started this month. Starting so I started build that step as well. Um, we've kind of had to do it as well because we had a large contract come up with some gas stations here. So you quite a gas station. So help that kind of push us, encourage us to grow this. And now I find myself now trying to grow both sides at the same time. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, right. So, do you have a growth goal over the next few years, or how do you think about that? Is it just you kind of take it day by day and see how it goes, or
I have a plan. Me and my wife, now we talked about it. What do we want to do? Last year, really very much had some personal going on. We were buying a house and stuff. House, so it took some time to kind of slow it down. But we want to grow it. We want to try to get as close as we possibly doubling next year.
oh wow, that's a big goal. That's a lot of chaos along the way
Yeah.
to
Oh, yeah.
double.
Tell my
Yeah,
wife it's going to be a little hectic. I know we can do it, but I'm okay putting in the time, having those late early mornings because I know it's going to pay off. So we got a year, like I told her, we had a year to kind of relax back, enjoy the year. I said, so that was a year, great year. So now it's time to bump it up to doing. So I have somebody once told me this, and it's just stuck with me my whole life. Hustle in my 30s and relax in my 40s.
okay,
So I'm 33 right now. Hustling in my 30s and relax in my 40s. So I
okay.
find myself just stressed out, overwhelmed. I always tell that to myself. Another thing I like to tell myself too is do it right, do it right now. So
Hey, I
don't
like
stress.
that. Yeah, no, that's really good. So, um, uh, we talk a lot about company valuations and these kinds of things. Do you have any sort of vision of selling the business one day, or is it something that you'd imagine you'd own forever passively, or do you want to be working in it forever? How do you think about that? Once you get to your 40s, what's the plan then?
So 40s, I would like to relax a little more, maybe start another company, do something else. I don't really foresee myself selling, to be honest with you. I would tell my wife that sometimes I would say, you know what, we have two little girls at home, and I would realistically have 3 kids. First child was because I babied it from the ground, see it grow. And I got to see its bruises, its ups and downs, it's a personality because I feel like every company has its own personality and it takes the team to create that personality. So I got to see it kind of grow up and flourish. Um, I don't really see myself selling it. I don't really see myself, I say this now, I don't really see myself. I genuinely love what I do. I like every bit of it. I like, from the guys going general cleaning up the same house, I was just overwhelmed with weeds and overground, or seeing it when it just had it shaped, and I look at it, it's like, man, that was us, or even seeing a backyard constructed or a front yard. And maybe I won't see the step by step, and I'll see the before picture, and then I'll show up to the job site to see the after picture, just take some pictures for us to post on marketing purposes. I'll see it. I said, man, there's still to this day, I see some of my job sites now, just like blown away. I'm like, holy cow, that's us. That's us. We did that. We did that right. So that feeling, it's I don't know if I'd be able to part ways, to be honest, because
Yeah.
it's very hard to explain, but that that feeling feeds the soul. To be honest, it
Yeah.
hits it hits different, and especially to know, like, what, we did that. I was a part of that. Had nothing to do personally with it and directly with it, was done. To me is just amazing. One of the other things I actually love to see too is when we get good reviews from customers and they don't mention my name. Oh man, I love that. They don't mention my name, they mention the company, and they give out a couple of shout outs for my people they interacted with, and they mention some of the people that work with us, some of the team members. To me, right there, I'm just like, oh man, that's because one, I had nothing to do with it directly. And I know that person knocked it out of the park in a memory with that customer, stood out to where they had an. So to me, that's also something that's really piece of soul.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I run a Instagram account called Lawn Care Memes, and one of the memes that everybody always loves is I can't remember what it is exactly, but it's the concept of driving down the street and pointing out to your wife, like, we do that lawn, we do that lawn, pointing out all the properties you maintain. Everybody loves that meme. That's a
You know
universal.
what? Funny you saying that, because I still do it to this day.
Oh yeah,
By my wife, and I'll just tell them, or whoever I'm with, and be like, "Hey, see that house over there? What do you guys think? Oh, that's a badass house." Like, yeah,
yeah,
we do that. We would maintain it, or we did it, or whatever. So yeah, or even like gas stations are all over the all over. So we're driving by, and what do you think about that gas station? Oh, that's us. We do that. So that's what
yeah.
kind of me kind of bragging, but at the same me also getting an opinion of somebody outside that really doesn't know what's going on, to see what their personal view is. They come to like, oh yeah, let's do it, but we need to kind of a little bit more. I probably do this, do that. And then I won't say nothing at the moment, but I'll usually circle back up and look at what I see it. They're like, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, get a fresh eye on it. I know what you
You
mean.
get fresh
That's
eyes on
great.
different
Yeah, no,
perspectives.
I love that. That's a really nice sentiment on that. So I see our time is ticking down, and I know you're super busy. So, one, I would like to ask, like, kind of one last idea from you. It doesn't have to be earth shattering or anything like that, but is there anything that you'd like to share before we sign off here? Anything that you'd want to pass on to anybody listening?
Don't lose yourself.
Okay, don't lose yourself.
Don't lose yourself. So the way you say that is, it's very easy when you start a company to lose yourself as a person. You'll find yourself pulling away from friends, pulling away from family, and it's nothing that you have against the ring. It's just that the simple fact is you're just busting your butt. You're out there grinding, and your life literally becomes your company. And be honest with you, it happened with me. I became a workaholic, and you got to remember, there's more to life. There's a lot more to life. Your family should always come first. Took me a while to realize that, but once I realized that, I changed the way I look at things for me personally, for my wife, and not just my wife, but also for a team. Once I realized, you know what, we're doing too much, we're cutting back from family. We're supposed to be doing this for our families, to do better for our families and such. So once I started doing that, requiring myself, hey, you know what, every single day, be home at 4 o'clock, I might be home at 3 o'clock, take my kids to school, I might do this, I might do that, take my weekends off, put my phone down, and literally just check out, dedicate all my time to my family, friends, whatever. Um, that's really when I started realizing, hey, I need to cut back, give some of these responsibilities to other people so that I could have a life. So I think, just don't lose yourself as a person. don't lose your personality. You gotta enjoy it. Buddy, what's that song go? Work hard, play hard. Just
Yep.
enjoy it. Do what you want to go see what you want to see because you never know when be cut short, it might not be cut for. So you got to really value that time. Remember, time is never going to be given to you. So you got to cherish that time. You also got to remember too, you got kids out there, you're starting a family. Kids are only young once. They're only young once. So you don't want to miss out on those memories. Work can wait. They say that busting your butt and doing good for you and your families open up doors. It will, but don't forget that door is always open for you. It's been
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for coming and speaking with me today, Richard.
a
It's really
pleasure.
nice. I really enjoyed this. Thanks.
Thank you.